Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, we will be talking to a legendary Dallas restaurateur. The great Rick Wells is in studio. His journey just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, this show is really a chance to thank a mentor of mine, and I don't even know if he knows that he's a mentor of mine. Rick Wells with the Wells Group McKinney is in the studio.
Thank you.
I want to compliment you because you took a chance on a young PR guy who, kind of knew what he was doing, but I was still probably working out of my home, and to have a chance to represent your brand meant a lot to me, and so I want to thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. Well,
And you did a great job.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Don't stop. So, your company has grown by leaps and bounds in the last decade, and that's not by accident, because I think you and I have the same obsession. We're obsessed with great customer experience and excellence. So, where does that excellence gene come from? Have you always had it?
Well, 2 things. I think one, the gene is a servant gene, and not it, more than anything else. I think that when we interview employees or we interview people that wants to come to work for our company, through this 4-interview process that we do, we have to identify the servant gene. So I think that if you walk into any of our companies, whether it be our hotel or restaurants or our schools, you will kind of feel like that we're here to serve you. We're here to take care of you. But more than anything else, it's about the experience. And we talk a lot about the experience and with across all of our brands. We're doing a farm tour tomorrow for our foundation, and we had a 2-hour meeting about that experience. We have 125 people or 100 people coming to do farm tours tomorrow, and that 100 people and their experience with us over the next 3.5 to 4 hours tomorrow really makes a big difference to us. So I think our team has become really good at thinking through the experience, whether that be at one of our schools and how that parent feels about their experience, how that child feels about their experience. I'm Farmer Rick at our schools, and hopefully we can get into that in just a little bit.
Absolutely.
I think more than anything else is that we're servants. We're a servant to our community. We're a servant to, I'm a servant to my family, my company, but more importantly, we're a servant to our community. And so I really feel like that our team has just, over the span of years, really kind of feels that same thing, and I think that's super important. And I think you feel that. My father used to always say, they'll never forget how you made them feel. I think Mary Lee said that as well. But they'll forget what you said, they'll forget what you're able, they'll never forget how you made them feel. And so for us, we want you to feel how you feel is super important to us when you walk into any of our buildings.
Absolutely. And I want to pull up Rick's website, and as we scroll down it, you're kind of a serial entrepreneur, aren't you? You're just always
we like to build
inventing
things.
and reinventing.
Yes.
And it isn't lost on you that you're celebrating birthdays and anniversaries and so many special occasions, and it doesn't take much to have a great customer experience go the wrong way. But I think it's because of your servant heart and how you hire the right people that you can. Nobody's going to be great 100% of the time, but to the degree possible, you're creating these magical experiences that they'll never forget.
We call them life moments, And we mess up those life moments sometimes. And like everyone, we make mistakes, right? And so there's thousands of people in the building. There's hundreds of things going on, but we feel like when we make a mistake, we own it. And I think that we come back to that servitude and we own what we do and we recover from it. So an experience with us in our hotel could be 3 or 4 days. An experience with us in one of our restaurants can be 2 or 3 hours. An experience with us can be 30 seconds at the door, right? And we're super focused on if something goes wrong, how do we recover from that? Most people are graceful. Most people will accept that apology and move on. And I think that's what our team does well. If we overseason something, overcook something, or make a mistake, we own it, we apologize, but then we really focus on the experience throughout that experience. It's just maybe one misstep. But I think for the most part, it's really what you feel when you come in. We care about. We want you to feel that when you walk into one of our places. And I think that kind of puts people at ease. They don't really get that a lot in this crazy world that we live in today. It's just come in, come out. We don't want you to do that. You made a thoughtful choice to come and have dinner with us. You had a thoughtful choice, even more so, to bring on your children in our schools for 2 and 3 or 4 or 5 years. Those life moments are just extremely important to us. And we really focus on it on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely. I found a great overview video. Let's go ahead and roll that.
My father was a state championship football and basketball coach when I was growing up. And one thing that I probably learned from him more than anything else, that watching him interact with his athletes and just this people in school, that he paid just as much attention to the water boy than he did star quarterback. And, at the time, I didn't really think about that a lot, but as I got older, it really was something that has stuck with me for, pretty much my entire life. My parents bought their first restaurant when I was 12. If they had not done that, I'd be the head basketball coach at University of Oklahoma right now. There's no doubt that would be my job. But they bought a restaurant, and I've been in it ever since. I've built 25 restaurants around the country through the years. I've always considered the hospitality business as, to me, the greatest thing in the world. I get to throw a party every night, and I truly get to throw a party every night. But going back to no matter how successful we are or what we do, at the very end of the day, when you take all the layers off of it, we're servants. And I think that if you walk and see our company and kind of how we are today, you can really see that kind of that servanthood kind of throughout. It's super important to me, from that standpoint. In my early 40s, I had the opportunity to come to McKinney. I just really loved what McKinney stood for, right? You had all this explosive growth going around us, the fastest growing places in the country, right? But they still had this unbelievable downtown. And I kind of realized in my early 40s, right, that that's where I wanted to spend the rest of my life. When we moved here, we just automatically dug in. I knew this. If I want to put my name on it, right, I'm digging in. I really pushed our leadership team. This is 9 years ago. And I think it's a time for us. We really had an opportunity to go this way and be very successful. I go this way and start thinking just a little different than what most people do. As we opened Harvest, it was the big go to the right was that we created the Sea Project Foundation. So the foundation funds education, agriculture, and community initiatives that support sustainability. That was when we started as a whole company to start looking at things a lot differently, and for the most part, it's questioning how we spend our money and where our money goes. Right? We want our money to go in McKinney and the surrounding areas, and we've taught ourselves, thank goodness to YouTube. We have 6 beehives on our farm. We have 6 beehives in McKinney Roots. We grow all the flowers for harvest on our farm. By this time next year, we'll produce all the flowers for the hotel, all the flowers for Rick's. Cut my carbon footprint down, right? And really learning and teaching ourselves kind of what to do. But we had an opportunity to take over McKinney Roots. It's a donation farm in Northwest McKinney, and it's an old repurposed baseball field. And we're farmers, and we know what we're doing now, right? So our first year, we're averaging to feed about 300 families a week.
We have 180 chickens. We produce 135 dozen eggs a week. We produce about 9,000 or 10,000 pounds of food this year on our first full year. 9 years ago, I had an opportunity to go that way, which was great. We had an opportunity to really dig deep. And for us, it was all about McKinney. It's all about our community. This is where we live. This is where we're dug in. We're responsible to take the level of business up the way it needs to be consciously, as not only taking the business up for ourselves, but everybody around us. About a year ago, we had the opportunity to buy the Masonic Lodge, and we're super excited about it. We can't wait to move Harvest. It really is by far the best place for Harvest to be able to move to. So it's 3,400 square feet on each floor. And when you walk in the first floor, it will look almost exactly like Harvest does today. The round booths on the right, the high back chairs in the middle, and the booths on the left. Cool bar on the first floor. Second floor is our kitchen and a private dining room for 50 people. And we've decided to build the kitchen on the second floor because what we're going to build on the third floor. And so the third floor is where the masons met. There's 16 8-foot windows that's been covered up for decades. So we're going to be allowed to open up all those windows. And you have these panoramic views of downtown McKinney. And I look forward for people to see what we do. Never wanted to call it Rick's. Never thought about calling it Rick's, right? My wife certainly didn't want to call it Rick's because there was no exit strategy there, right? And I really felt like that if I named it Rick's, it would still be that small town feel that had drawn me to the square originally, had drawn me to McKinney. Because no matter how fast it was growing, how big it was, there was this feeling from me that everybody knew your name. Kind of like Cheers, right? Everybody knows your name. And so that's what I did. And had a wonderful partner, Don Day. Don was the gentleman who owned the building and owned the Grand Hotel. And so when we opened that hotel and the restaurant 15 years ago, it was Rick's in the ballroom and 14 rooms in the hotel. And now there's 44 rooms in the hotel proper. And we are renovating it from floor to floor. It's funny, I've always been a person that when you walk in one of our properties, I want you to feel our personality, right? The hotel is just super fun because we will curate over the next 6 months, each room at a time. So when you walk in a room, it is curated with each and everything. Each and everything will be kind of handpicked by us. And when you come in and spend a weekend with us, you can certainly just kind of feel like it was McKinney made.
Wow, that was an amazing piece. And I know it's not like you go back and re-watch it all the time.
I haven't watched it in a long time. It was great.
You were watching it like you saw it for the first time. You're like, hold on, Jeff, I need to see what happens next. Okay, so that was filmed about a year ago, and it was a beautiful job.
Yeah.
Okay, give us an update. What's happened in the last year?
So as the project kind of proceeded, you can't build a restaurant called Harvest and talk about how to repurpose and redo things without taking an old building like that and try to restore it back to its grandeur, right? So we have worked extensively with the state and the federal government. We should, when we open that restaurant in September, have a federal historic stamp on it.
Wow, that's huge.
It's a big wow. It's been super complicated. It made the project even more complicated. But I believe, and I truly believe this, if you want to create one of the great small cultural districts in America, which I think we have an opportunity to do in McKinney, you can't put vinyl windows in buildings. You have to restore buildings back to the way they were built. And that's super, super important to me. We've invested a lot in McKinney. We've invested our lives in downtown McKinney. And it's super important to me that community, that small community called historic downtown McKinney, continues to grow. And I feel like what we're doing at Harvest, how the city has helped us, how the city's got behind us, how even the state and the federal government to a certain extent has really worked with us to help me restore that building back to, we're taking it back to 1911. So The building was built in 1899. They did a remodel in 1908, and that remodel was finished in 1911. So that's kind of where our watermark is, so to speak. And it's beautiful. It will be it's beautiful. I laid out the third floor with our team last night to make sure I get the exact amount of seats in there that I wanted to get in it. And the windows, and it's the second tallest building in downtown McKinney. There's only 5 3-story buildings in downtown McKinney, if you can believe that. And so when these windows open up on the third floor, they've been closed for probably about 75 years.
Wow.
By mortaring them up, you've actually saved the wood for a certain extent.
Right.
So we were able, in all these windows, these 16 8-foot windows on the third floor, and then 7 on the second floor, we were able to use all that wood and restore all of those windows back to where they were in 1899. It's super important to us because we really believe that's the way you can create one of these cultural districts and really set the pace. And in America, we don't have a lot of old things in America, right? I mean, we consider things 200 years old, really, really, really old, or 150 years old. And we need to take advantage of that.
Yes.
Because we can then restore that history. And we have so many, it's so much easier to do it today than it was in Europe, right? Because in Europe, when we were restoring those buildings, it was, hundreds of years ago, but it's not for us. And so we really have the opportunity in places like McKinney to restore these buildings back to where they should be, and then set an example. And when we set those examples, then we share it with people around us. It's not like information that we keep. We want other entrepreneurs to be successful.
Yes.
We want people around us to be successful. So we, as a company and as a team, we share those things. I will share with anybody who wants to hear how you can navigate through the federal government for these not only these tax credits, but also the help and the support to restore these old buildings, because I think it's super important. And I think that's what you should do.
Rick, I applaud you because I can see your passion, and that's what makes you successful.
Yeah,
I mean, this is a piece of art that you're
Yes,
creating.
it is a piece of art.
All right, I want to transition to Farmer Rick. All right. Is that really your nickname?
It's my name that my wife gave me when we purchased the schools 9 years ago. We live on an organic farm called Waterboy. I think Waterboy is the ultimate servant. And we talked about servitude just a little bit ago, but my wife wanted to create small organic gardens at our schools, and so yeah, man, I with a lot of families, I'm up there with like Santa Claus.
Really?
Right? Oh yeah, big time. Because they won't eat broccoli at home, but they'll eat broccoli with Farmer Rick. Right. We have Tasty Thursdays. I was at both schools yesterday. Have beautiful gardens at both of our schools. We have a lot of herbs. I like a lot of herbs because our kids can taste a lot of different things. I want kids to taste things. So yesterday I brought, we have bees at our donation farm, 6 hives, and we also have bees, 6 hives at our farm. So I brought an empty box yesterday, and then we did a slideshow and just kind of walked them through bees and why bees are the answer. Everybody got a little bees are the answer sticker, because bees are the answer. We have to take care of our bees in the world, or we won't have anything to eat. So because they pollinate probably 40% of everything that we eat. And it's super important that we take care of those. You probably don't know this little side mark. We lose 30% of our bees in America every year.
Wow.
That's frightening.
Yes.
It's frightening. And so we had little bees are the answer stickers for them. And then we go out in the garden and we taste a lot of herbs and check, and we do a lot of science projects, a lot of math projects, because as you know, when a tomato plant starts to flower, then 30 or 45 days later, that flower is going to become a tomato. So we do math on that, right? And we have rosemary plants. We talk about how many things, you can make out of rosemary. Would that be rosemary butter? Would that be rosemary, soap, or all those different things? So it's really fun and I just get the greatest questions asked by these 4 and 5-year-olds. And then we have an after-school program up to the 4th grade. So, and then I did that with them. But it's just always great to talk about putting things in perspective.
Yes.
right? You'd be working like on a $2 million deal or working on something or getting your butt kicked, and then you go do crisscross applesauce with 15 5-year-olds, and it really reminds you where your priorities should be,
Yes.
what you should be doing for your community,
Yes.
because those young children are our future, and it's our responsibility to set them up for success through education. And I believe strongly that you can educate people out of poverty. And I'm not going to. We could do a whole show on that one day. But education is super important to us, and we also like Farmer Rick also likes to learn what we can do at that school that's making money, and how do we take that knowledge that we have and move that to the other side of the tracks and do that from a nonprofit standpoint.
Yes.
Or how do we do that so that we can educate those children and get those children where they need to be before they go to the 1st and 2nd grade, because that truly is the most important thing. The foundation that children have in 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 years old can set them on a lifetime of learning.
Wow.
And that's super important to us, and that's really what we do. That's what Farmer Rick does. That's really all Farmer Rick does at the school. He's kind of the maintenance man as well, a little bit, but we have really a really good team of maintenance people now that kind of keeps all those companies up and running. But my wife runs a school. She's getting her PhD in early childhood development.
Wow.
In her late 50s, and just super proud of what she does at our schools and the impact that we have, not only on those children, but on those families, right?
Well, I'm so impressed that you're so philanthropic, because there are a lot of people, who are as successful as you are just concentrating on getting bigger, faster, and giving back is really the secret ingredient, isn't it?
Well, too much is given, much is expected.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Use your personal success to make the world a better place. I wrote 2 of those things on my fancy letterhead 17 years ago when I got it 2 weeks before I opened Rick's. And I'm not really quite sure why I wrote those 2 things, but I mean, I think those was pretty important to me. And I put it in my inside my cabinet, inside my bathroom, and so I see it every day. And we can't take it with us.
Yeah.
Right? We have to. It's our responsibility, to me, capitalism and conscious capitalism, or using what you've learned and using your companies to make the world a better place, is really what we should do. From a servant standpoint, from a, what would Jesus do standpoint, what are those things that we do? So we really, as a company, try to have that mentality.
Yes.
Right? It's not all for us to take. Right? We have to push back. We have to give back. We have to have people come together and show and share. I talked a little earlier about sharing things. How to make other people successful. So when they're successful, they kind of do the same things that we do, and I think that's important for us to do that. So it's something that's kind of how I was raised. I'll never forget. I was 14 or 15 years old. And on the front page of the Antlers American, which is like 5-page paper in this little small town in rural Oklahoma, my mother's on a cover of the front page, upper fold, or top fold, I think they say. Whatever in your industry you say. And she had donated, she had volunteered 10,000 hours in her community. And I just never forget that. That's a lot, right?
Yes.
Malcolm Gladwell says 10,000 hours makes you an expert, right?
Yes.
Or something like that in one of his books. And so, so that's kind of how I was raised. And I think it's super important.
That's beautiful.
Super important.
Well, any great company is only as good as its team, and we've got a page off of your website, obviously family business.
Yeah, for sure.
Brag about your team.
Easily to brag about our team. So we have employees that's been with us since day one. And we have employees that now want to come work because of our mission. That started 3 or 4 years ago. And I looked at my chief of staff, who's been with me for 14 years. I'm just going, man, I can't believe people are now wanting to come and work for us just because of our thought process and our mission. And so from Chef Dre, which has been with us for 10 years. It's helped me start Harvest and has her own dining room called Chef Dre's Dining Room on the second floor of Harvest that we're about to open. To our, Ashley and Becky and Emily and Lynn and all these individuals who have just worked for us for a really, really, really long time. Megan Neubauer runs our foundation. Vicki Dearman and Tucker and Casey out at McKinney Roots and just all those individuals are just committed to kind of what we do. You can stay in the wagon, right? And or you can get out of the wagon and push it up the hill. And I feel like our leadership team does that. I think our leadership team has the mentality with her staff to get out of the wagon and push it up the hill. And we have, our staff works our farm. Our staff works, we have our staff donate their time and volunteer at our donation farm, spftx.org. You can go and volunteer. There's a survey. There's something, I'm not sure what it's called. Our team does, but you can volunteer your time there. We had 500 volunteers last year on that farm, and I mean that just makes my heart swell,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because those 500 volunteers are typically Young Men's Service Leagues, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, moms working with their kids to show them how to volunteer, like my mom did, and on that farm tour tomorrow at 10 o'clock, we're going to pull carrots, and I guarantee 50%, 60, 70% of the people have never pulled a carrot.
No.
Right? And they may be 50 years old. And so kind of creating that relationship, our leadership team and what they do to create that, and what they do to prepare for that is just super, super important. Bragging on our leadership team, we sat down with McKinney ISD last week, and we will start a field trip program in McKinney ISD in the third graders. So we'll take all third graders in McKinney ISD next year, which is 2,500 kids.
Wow.
Over a span of about 3 weeks, and all of them will hit our donation farm. I haven't heard exactly where the donation farm was last year, but last year is 12,000 pounds of food, 18,000 pounds of food this year. That team did 150 dozen eggs a week last year.
Wow.
We're upping that productions to 300 eggs a week. Why is that? Because we have seen where an egg in an underserved pantry is by far the most versatile thing. You can fry it, you can scramble it, you can poach it, you can bake with it, you can cook with it.
Yes.
It's just massively, and so we are building, we're doubling our operation, in that field as well. So super, super proud of our team and what they do. They're certainly committed to make the world a better place. And like I said, I could be more proud of them.
Rick, you're such an inspiration. We've only got a little time left. So final thoughts, what would you like to leave the viewer with?
Well, I would love to leave you with, if you haven't been to McKinney, Texas before, coming downtown, we have a romance package that you can come and stay at the hotel and have dinner at the restaurants. We encourage you to volunteer at our donation farm. We really encourage people to get out of their comfort zones and come out and see us. It's spftx.org. If you don't have time to volunteer because you're really, really busy, it's spftx.org. Hit the donate button. We're really good stewards of your money. We raise hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and we push that money out last year to 36 different charities.
Wow.
Within our community that fund agriculture, education, or community initiatives. And really and truly, that's what I like to leave you with. We can make the world a better place. In this world that is so divided and so everybody, a lot of people fight, it's up to us to do it different. It really is. I mean, we can make a difference, and you do that by volunteer. You're doing that by really thinking through, how do you make the world a better place?
Wow. I am so inspired. We're going to end with Rick's professional website, which is wellsgroupmckinney.com. The great Rick Wells. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.
Man.